Hello everyone, today we have new video review, and as you can see, this time we are going to talk about fresh release from ICM. It's a set in 1/48 scale, and it's actually aircraft kit which copies OV-10D plus Bronco. So as you remember, this original release happened quite recently, so we already have another version of this famous aircraft, and you can see that it comes with a nice box art on the front. Box size is quite standard for this brand, and we have a commercial sample here, so it means you will get exactly the same stuff as what you will see in this video review. So first of all, I have to note the box size. So here is comparison with my hand. It's quite large, even though aircraft is supplied in 1/48 scale. Here we continue with some information about the real aircraft. There is also some information about the kit. So there are 247 parts inside, and wingspan should be just 255 millimeters, which is not that big for a 1/48 scale release. And what is surprising here is amount of marking options in one box. And as you can see, there are 5 of them in one box. This is, I would say, rather unusual for ICM, and that's also a good thing because it will give you a better choice, and I mean, you won't have to rely on some aftermarket decals. So here we have everything sealed with tape, so I'm going to cut through it right now and we will check everything in a second. In the meantime, let me also remind you that you can support us with a small donation. It's quite an easy thing to do because we have a big red button on our website, and it's done via PayPal, so it should be easy and safe. And of course, you will be the one who will decide how much we will get, but all this money will be used in order to improve our video and photo reviews, or maybe get some interesting kits to be reviewed with you. So, box design is quite typical. As you can see, this is a flexible top cover, and inside we have a sturdy white cardboard box which actually protects everything inside. And here is what we have inside. So there is plenty of space in the box. That's why I'm always surprised why they actually decided to pick this box size instead of smaller one, because I think it could have fit into the smaller one which they have for typical AFV kits. But we have what we have, and of course it's better because it will preserve all the parts, but it will take more space in your kit's collection. So there are 2 plastic bags. Here is the first one. I guess the amount of plastic bags depends on the marking option, I mean on the type of this aircraft, because here we have some new parts specific for this version, and I will show you in a second all these gray plastic sprues. So we are going to start with what was on the front. So here is this sprue which is lettered B. Let's open the camera, zoom in a bit. And now you can see that here we have these parts for both gondolas. Obviously these are only 2 halves. We have 2 more halves on the next sprue, and also we have wing parts here. External features look quite good. Here you can take a closer look. So all these rivets are just like on the real aircraft. Some of you commented about it in the review of the original release because it is like that on the real aircraft. So it's really cool that ICM decided to copy all these features. And inside you can find some guiding elements, but still you have to be careful while joining all this stuff together due to the tricky design of the aircraft, of the original aircraft. That's why it's not as easy as it might look to be, but it's doable, even though I would not recommend such thing for beginners. Next we continue with a sprue B4. As you can see here, we have another 2 halves for both gondolas, and these ones are pretty much the same in external features. We also have some special guiding elements here and there for wing parts, and if I flip it over, inside you'll find guiding pins which are also handy during assembly. Next we start with a bigger plastic frame. This one is dedicated to fuselage parts, so I guess we should zoom out a bit. And these 2 large fuselage halves are molded together with a nose cone. As I said in the previous review, I'm not sure why it was decided to have it pre-molded with the fuselage parts, because one-piece part would do better. You would avoid any unnecessary gaps and seams in such visible area. But we have what we have, and you will work around this. I guess it is possible possible to do a flush, let's say, joint between these two elements, but it will be a bit more tricky thing to do. Again, external features are pretty much the same as what we saw on the previous parts. Here you can also see some external panels, and even the cockpit parts are already here. And in my opinion, for 148 scale kit, we get pretty much nice details out of the box. Here you can see, by the way, some of the wheel well parts, and all this stuff coming in a standard plastic kit. You don't have to get any aftermarket upgrades. Next, we continue with interesting feature of this kit. As you remember from the previous review, we have a lower panel which is molded as a single piece part, so at least here you will not get any unnecessary seams and gaps. We also get nice propellers. As you can see, they have only one attachment point. That's the instrument panel, so let's zoom in and take a closer look. Here you can see it closer. Obviously, I will recommend to upgrade to P parts, which will give you even more detailed cockpit on your model, and in 148 scale such upgrade will be noticeable, so that's why it's worth spending some extra cash and you'll get a better result on this aircraft. And due to its, let's say, cockpit design and canopy design, it will be visible even if you build it with a closed canopy, so do not worry about it. Next, we continue with one more tiny sprue. This one is also provided for lower panels of each of the ends of the fuselage. And as you can see, again, we have this nice external rivets, raised rivets. So they should be a good material for some dry brushing as well. Next, we continue with the last gray plastic sprue in this plastic bag. So here we have a large wing part and also some lower hulls here. We also have landing gear doors. And I have to say again that the overall assembly might be a bit tricky for inexperienced modelers due to two gondolas and also to the fuselage which will be placed in the middle. So definitely do not overestimate your skills, because it will give you a headache later. Even though I'm not saying that this kit is, let's say, not cleverly designed, because overall structure seems to be properly divided and we have quite a logical parts division, but still it's better to be safe and keep in mind that you're dealing with a twin-engine aircraft with two gondolas from both sides of the fuselage. Next, we continue with another plastic bag. So here we have another portion of sprues, and these ones are dedicated to various external equipment. So just give me a second. I will open it right now, and we will take a closer look together. Okay, so we do have pair sprues here. So for example, these ones are supplied in two pieces. Obviously I will show you only one, because here we have external equipment. That's why it is supplied in identical, let's say, design. So parts are absolutely the same. We have here rocket launchers which will be placed under wings. Obviously you cannot place all this stuff under wings, so you will have to decide on what you would like to have on your model, and of course you have to consult with your references so that you depict the real aircraft loadout, not some imaginary, let's say, military package on the aircraft. I was a bit confused because I can see that this sprue type is also provided in a pair, so I will show you only one again, because here we have some parts for landing gear and also some parts for engine gondolas. Note that landing gear wheels should be glued out of several parts. This is quite interesting design, but still in 148 scale I would rather suggest to search for a resin upgrade, which will have some details on the tire walls as well. This is important in this scale, so that's why it's worth investing into this area as well. And also we have wing mechanization molded separately, a lot of tiny bits which will have to be installed here and there, as well as in the cockpit and landing gears, so be ready for that. You have to work with tweezers, otherwise it will be almost a nightmare installing all these parts into the right spots with bare fingers. Next, we continue with a clear plastic sprue. So here it is. It comes in the separate plastic bag, so it won't be scratched And this is, I mean, classic ICM packaging. It's quite good because it will give you a part in a proper shape. Nothing will be looking ugly after some rough shipping. But here we have really nice clear plastic, so I can zoom in a bit more, maybe close the lenses, and you can see these are nicely molded canopy parts. As far as I remember, masks were included into this kit, so it's just a matter of careful assembly and you'll be good to go. Next we continue with one more gray plastic sprue. So this one is actually the last one in the kit. But here we have quite large parts, so let's place it in the center first, zoom out. So this large panel in the middle, it's the cockpit floor, which will be obviously installed in the fuselage. We also have large fuel tank and again some wing mechanization parts. Some of the cockpit consoles are here. And I can see some of the landing gear parts, at least main legs and the nose legs are there, so be careful while installing all this stuff, because as you can see some of these legs are quite thin and tender. Let's zoom in so that you can see what I'm talking about. So here, for example, you can take a look at some of the wing mechanization parts and side consoles for the cockpit. Here we continue with more parts for the cockpit, as well as the external equipment for the wing and wing mechanization. That's the cockpit floor. And here we have some parts for landing gear, as well as these landing gear legs. Everything looks quite cool, so if you are ready to work with such model, it's more than interesting project in my opinion. And next we have few more things to show. There are 2 decal sheets included into this kit. I'm now trying to pick them out from assembly manual, where they are usually hidden in ICM kits. So first one is quite big because it is dedicated to all main symbols. Here you can see it closer, and we have some decals for the cockpit, so it includes several decals for the instrument panel. I can see some stencils here. Unfortunately, there are no seat belts, so you will have to do it with your own hands and tools. But other than that, the printing quality is quite nice, so it's just a matter of careful application. But that's not all. As I said, we have 2 decal sheets, so here is another one. This one is dedicated to various stencils and also these red lines which will be placed on the engine gondolas. We have some stencils to be placed on the engines as well. And just to remind you that engine gondolas will be empty inside, so you cannot show the engine in them. But I mean, in my opinion, this is not a great minus or disadvantage of this kit. Next we continue with assembly manual. So here we should zoom out because it's a quite large brochure which is printed in color. And on the first page we have a short history note about the real aircraft and some paints charts given in Revol and Tamiya and ICM paint numbers, because ICM recently started producing the paints, acrylic paints. Here we continue with the parts map. So as you can see, there are none of the parts which are left unused. And here we have only one part which will stay in your spare parts box, so be sure not to lose anything, because as you can see, one here, and that's pretty much all. By the way, this sprue is given in 2 pieces, so I guess 2 parts and 1 clear part, 3 parts in total will stay as unused. And assembly process starts with the pilot seat. So here again we have a let's say chance to upgrade it with seat belts, be it PE parts or maybe some handmade ones, but still it's worth doing it, because as I said before, cockpit should be easily visible through the canopy. That's why it is important to work on it. And next we continue with an actual assembly of the cockpit, because it's a double-seater. We have 2 pilot seats getting installed. We assemble both instrument panels, we install the combing panel. Next we continue with the fuselage parts. So you can see that you can use part F1 as a template for something, I guess for assembly or gluing the parts into the place. Then you join 2 fuselage halves together and install this cockpit in between. We continue with that's a nose landing gear doors as far as I can understand, but I wonder why they're built in a closed position. That's quite interesting. But here you can see the one-piece lower panel. Next we continue with wing roots, which are being installed from both sides. And that's where it starts to get tricky, because you will have to be careful with overall alignment. And again, you have to deal with large wing parts, as you remember, so be ready for that. And here, by the way, you can see wing mechanization installation. Next we continue with canopy parts. And I guess the canopy template can be in the end. At least I hope, because otherwise it will be quite tricky thing to mask. Next we proceed on working on both gondolas. We also work on the landing gear, and here we assemble all this stuff together. Obviously you'll have to do it twice because it's a twin-engined aircraft. As you can see, it gets installed from both sides. The same applies to the propellers and various wing elements, as well as the landing gear. And next we start working on the external armament. Here we have loadout scheme, so it will depend on the marking option you choose. That's the masking template, so that's really great because it will help you to get a nice paint finish on your model. And we start with the marking guide. So that's the first marking option, second one, third, fourth, and here we have the fifth marking option. And as far as you can see, the stencils are combined with this one, if I'm not wrong. So you have to pay attention where to place them. So all in all, we get a really great release in 1/48 scale. Obviously this aircraft will be a great build for experienced modelers, and maybe brave beginners might try to assemble it, but straight away you should account the fact that it will be tricky. And of course I will be happy to hear your opinion about such release. Do not forget to write it here in the comment section below. If you like this video, press the like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and I will see you in the next video review as usual. Thank you for joining me today, and bye!